Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name's Emma Chiappetta. I'm a math teacher and curriculum coordinator at Wasatch Academy, and I'm going to be talking with you about helping students persevere through self-regulation. Let's get started. This is related to Marshall's Tip 4, Challenging Rigorous Learning Experiences. This tip is made up of two components, the first being a culture of challenge, which is about establishing a culture in your classroom where students are willing to persevere when they feel like things are getting tough. The other component is instructional challenge, which is about providing experiences that appropriately challenge each learner where they're at. So I want to talk to you first about how this looks in my classroom. I provide my students with high expectations. We work together on real and authentic projects and problems that get them to think in the real world. In my pre-calculus class, my students push themselves at their own pace, which I'll talk about more in a sec. And students collectively wrote guidelines for me, and they hold me to high expectations, that I'm always prepared, knowledgeable, and patient with them. I try to challenge every student by really differentiating my content. For example, I had a student named Trevor who was not that excited about statistics and was really excited about coding. So I would often challenge him to apply his coding knowledge to our statistics projects. But on the other side, I scaffolded his learning by testing him orally. He didn't perform very well in writing. I also excel when it comes to differentiation and scaffolding. In my pre-calculus class, my students move at their own pace, and the way that I accomplish this is by providing them with a variety of resources for learning. This could be textbook, videos made by me, or computer explorations. I also provide them with a variety of options for practicing the material so they can pick what works best for them. So again, this could be computer explorations, textbook problems, online practice. And I provide scaffolding by giving students fact sheets, guided notes, and definitions when I feel that it could really allow them to free up some working memory. Finally, I provide multiple opportunities for assessment so that my students feel that they can grow. My weakness is when I see faces like this. When students are feeling out of their comfort zone, I tend to jump in immediately and help. So, I have the goal of encouraging my students to grapple and persist. This came out of a research article that I found. Was a meta-analysis done for Student-Centered Learning Research Collaborative in April 2012 by Eric Tishalis and Michael Nakula. It's called Motivation, Engagement, and Student Voice. And they advocate that when students take risks and view mistakes as opportunities to learn, it will really benefit both their learning and their ability to persist through challenge. So here are some students in my class. According to Nakula and Tishalis, the #1 strategy for improving persistence is putting students in the driver's seat. When they invent their own environment, they simultaneously invent themselves. And of course, if they're making the choices, they are much more likely to be invested and to push through any challenges because those challenges came out of what they invented. Give you a sec to read that quote. I think that I do a pretty decent job of putting my students in the driver's seat. Here they are planning an entire observational study from scratch, deciding their research questions, deciding their data collection methods, and how they're going to analyze. So if I'm already pretty good at giving students voice and choice, what can I do to improve my students' ability to persist when they are challenged? As I dug deeper into Tishalis and Nakula, I learned that self-regulation is a great way to bolster persistence. Self-regulation is the ability to plan, set goals, organize, self-monitor, and self-evaluate. And according to Zimmerman, those who self-regulate well show more effort and persistence during learning. Zimmerman suggests that self-regulation is highly teachable, and he gives a 4-step method to achieve self-regulation. The first step is observation, watching someone already skilled, then emulating the behavior, then building up self-control with structure, and then finally achieving self-regulation. So I've set some goals for myself in each of these categories. For observation, I want to make sure that I reward and acknowledge intelligence or grit over intelligence by saying things like, you worked really hard on that. You persisted through that challenge, rather than you're so smart. I want to model problem solving. Sometimes when I get stuck on a problem at the board, I'll gloss over the messy computations, and I need to show that to my students so they know how to persist through also. I also want to explicitly talk about and glorify mistakes. When it comes to emulation, I want to emphasize co-regulating. So this can happen through student grouping or by working with me, so that students who are not so good at co-regulating can practice their skills with someone who is. And then finally, I want to ask my students to reflect on their level of achievement through the lens of their persistence and grit. The ways that I hope to bring in structure in self-control are by guiding the students in goal setting. I conference with my students, and I want to make sure that we set goals together and reflect on how they did in meeting their goals since the last time. I also want to guide their reflection so that they think about the mistakes that they made and the way that they got through that. Behaviorist theory suggests that I can also build and shape my students' ability to wait longer before asking for help. And hopefully this will lead to more empowered learners. So I have a few more ideas for you before I let you go. One is that students self-regulate better when they feel competent and confident. So you can help them feel that way by applying appropriate scaffolds to support their learning. You can also de-emphasize high-stakes summative assessments and emphasize formative feedback so that students know that through revision they can achieve more exciting and competent results. Finally, identify the entry points for each student so that you can challenge them at their appropriate level. This is differentiation. And in addition to putting students in the driver's seat, give them real, authentic problems that have personal meaning to them. Have them solve problems for other people so that they're less likely to want to give up when they encounter a challenge. Now, before I leave you today, I'm going to present you with a few self-reflection questions from Marshall's text. If you pause the webinar and ask yourself these questions, it will help you identify your ability to build persistence in your learners. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you've learned a lot. Have a great day.